Hello, today we are going to install Windows XP 64-bit, the latest version, in a QEMU virtual machine using virt-io hard disk and virt-io NIC for greater speed. We're going to assign it for vCPUs and 4 GB of RAM, again in order to get as much speed as possible out of this virtual machine. So let's start. I am using Virtual Machine Manager, virt-manager. So I go new, ISO, browse. Where are you? This thing, choose. It automatically guesses the correct operating system, which is Microsoft Windows XP. I go forward. It recommends half a gigabyte of RAM. So let's go with more. Let's go with this number. Shy under 4 gigabytes. For vCPUs, I have 16 vCPUs available, so 4 should be okay. Forward. Let's make the hard disk at least 100 gigabytes. The computer name, virtual machine name should be Windows XP. Customize. Finish says, do you want to start the default virtual network? And I go yes. So I had I had success installing Windows XP if I kept the defaults. So KVM for hardware acceleration, x86-64, the older motherboard, which is i440FX, BIOS, the machine name Windows XP, WinXP. Then CPUs are always wrong, so this should be 1 and this should be 4. Apply. Memory, so not 4 gigabytes. I had some blue screens and those were probably related to 4 gigabytes of RAM. I'm keeping the defaults, so a slow hard disk, which is IDE. In order to be able to finish installing Windows XP, then I install the virt-io drivers and then I switch from IDE to virt-io. Okay, CD-ROM same, IDE. Network interface card, I use the default, which is Intel E1000. It works, so I'm using the ISO from Microsoft for Windows XP 64-bit that has no service packs in it. Okay. What do I need to do now to install? Okay. So I couldn't use the virt-io floppy disk, and that's why I'm using this list of steps, which is install Windows XP using just the default settings in QEMU, and then once the installation is complete and you have the Windows XP desktop, then you add a virt-io network interface card and a hard disk. Then you install from the virt-io ISO, so from a CD-ROM, the drivers, and then we switch from the old so from the hard disk, which is ID, to virt-io, and the network interface card from Intel 1000 to virt-io. Okay, so let's see the installation steps. This is the first question that I get asked and says to set up Windows Now, press enter. I go enter. I should read the EULA. I go F8 to agree. If I want to use the 100 megabyte disk, 100 gigabyte ID disk, I want, so press enter. And I go with quick, so it's the same thing. This is significantly longer. So I go up, arrow key, and then enter. So Windows XP knows IDE, does not know SATA, does not know virt-io, does not know GPT partition table, GUID partition table, so we need to use MBR. Knows BIOS, doesn't know UFE. Okay, the first reboot of the installation. Now it has booted from disk. It copied the files from the CD-ROM to the disk, and now it has booted from disk. In the boot options, we can see that it tries to boot from disk, not from CD-ROM. The CD-ROM is still available though. Okay. The screen flickers because it tries to install drivers. Okay, so this is hardware detection. Regional settings. Does not matter what you write here. I need a Windows XP 64-bit professional license key, not any other type of Windows XP license key. So just a second, let me be back. Okay. So computer name the same as virtual machine name, WinXP. Administrator password. So administrator is a local Windows user account, which is a member of the local Windows user group named administrators. Time zone New York. Okay, network interface cards, SMB settings. So I do not want to be member of a Microsoft Active Directory domain. Instead, I'm using an SMB workgroup with a default name. I can already exit the virtual machine, the mouse. So I don't need to press left control, left alt combination. This is probably from this hardware device, so USB graphics tablet, which seems to be supported under the Windows XP operating system, which is a good thing because the mouse moves correctly. Okay, saving settings, we're nearing completion. So Windows XP is the operating system that unified the NT lineage, so Windows 2000 with the Windows 98 lineage, so Windows 98 second edition and Windows 98 ME, which was based on DOS, disk operating system. Very successful operating system, end of life a number of years ago. Okay, so end of life happened in 2014. Okay, so we finished installing the operating system. So we took it from the ISO, we put it on the hard disk. The correct user exists, which is called administrator. It has a password. Let's log in. It's creating the desktop, so the user's home directory and its settings. Okay. It says your screen resolution is interesting. May I help? I go yes. So it increased the resolution a bit. I say yes, keep it. Let's see if we can increase the resolution even more. And we can. Great. I want to keep this thing. Let's do the settings that I want done here. So I'm not taking the Windows Store. Hopefully. Okay, looks like this. No need, but I just went there to see. Okay, so this is the start menu. This is the taskbar. By right-clicking on the start menu, you get this context menu. This is where I start Windows Explorer. Okay, from Windows Explorer, then I go to network settings. So right-click on my network places properties. There's just one network interface card, which is recognized. It's Intel 1000. Let's look at its settings. So it has TCP IPv4, everything's DHCP. Okay. So this looks okay. Then the properties of the computer. So my computer properties takes me to system properties dialog. In here, we need to make sure that the name of the machine is correct, which is WinXP, a member of workgroup, correct. Then I go to remote, disable this thing and allow. So I enable the remote desktop protocol server. All of the users from the local user group administrators can connect remotely using a remote desktop protocol client. Administrator can. Okay, no need to change anything here. Automatic updates, I'm not sure if they work, so I'm just turning them off. System restore, I'm not using system restore. If I want to restore something, I'm going to use virtual machine snapshots. What else can we tweak here? Let's go with that's it. That's it at this step. Okay, let's try to connect to this virtual machine and see how successful we are using the remote desktop protocol. So we go at the network interface card properties. This is the IPv4 address. I open a terminal. The command line is this one, but with IP address ending with 223. Ctrl V. So let's connect here. Ctrl Shift V. Okay, the resolution is a bit large. Okay, so I can connect to it. Let me make the resolution a bit smaller. So this is 1040 and this is 88. Okay. When I connect remotely using the RDP connection, then the user that is connected using the hardware, mouse and keyboard of the computer. So in this case, the virtualization software console is being locked. So you can connect just once to Windows XP using RDP or using the hardware mouse and keyboard. Okay. So the next step now is to actually install virt.io drivers. Windows R brings up the run menu. Let's open a command prompt. Unfortunately, I cannot shut down the machine using remote desktop protocol. I only can log off the user and disconnect the user, but there's not a problem. There's shutdown command line. Okay, with -R does restart, with /s shuts down, which is what I want, and then probably I also need to specify time. So time is /t and the minimum is 1. Okay, 1 second. Okay, my RDP client has closed because the RDP server has stopped. And now we need to add hardware, a virt.io hard disk. So add hardware. Yes, make it 20 gigabytes by default. Disk device and virt.io. Create one, so finish. And also add a network interface card. The Intel 1000 is really good, so you can just use that, but we're going to use virt.io network interface card this time. Okay, now we can start the virtual machine. Okay. Sometimes it cannot connect using the RDP client until I log into the virtual machine using the hardware, mouse and keyboard. Okay, but then I can connect using the RDP client. Okay, so it says it has found new hardware, and I say if we want to use Windows Update. I'm not sure if the Windows Update server has support for Windows XP. So let's see yes this time only. Next. Okay. So it says this is an Ethernet controller. Install the software automatically next. It doesn't work because we didn't add the virt.io CD-ROM to the virtual machine. So let's do that first. Shutdown /s/t1. Okay. So I need to download the virt.io ISO. virt.io Windows ISO. So it's this thing, Fedora people something. https://fedora-people.org/group/virt-io-win/direct downloads latest virt.io, and I need to download the ISO. So the ISO is either virt.io win ISO or the virt.io-win 0.1.229.iso. It's the same thing, it's the same file. Okay, and that needs to be exposed as an IDE CD-ROM to the virtual machine. So as that, add hardware. This is not a device, but an optical drive. ID, manage, and it's called virt.io-win.01229.iso. Choose volume. Finish. Okay, 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 and okay. Start. Okay. Let's see if it finds new hardware. So it found a CD-ROM drive, an Ethernet controller, and an SCSI controller. So again, Windows Update for Windows XP has been totally disabled, so we can go anything in here. Then install this software automatically recommended. Actually looks into all of my optical drives, searches there automatically. I don't need to browse for a location. So this is searching for network interface card of type virt.io. While it's doing its things, let me disable the firewall. So control panel, switch to classic, security center, disable the firewall. Okay, now everything is as red as possible, which is a good thing. Okay, and it says that it has found Windows XP 64-bit driver for virt.io network interface card. I go next. It says either it's not signed, digitally signed, or it did not pass the Windows logo testing, because Windows XP 64 kernel is the same as the Windows Server 2003 64-bit kernel, and that requires digital signing for .sys files for Windows kernel modules or drivers. Okay. Install the software automatically for SCSI controller. This is actually the virt.io hard disk. I can choose between the Windows Server 2003 kernel module or the Windows XP kernel module. It's the same thing because the kernel is the same. I have chosen XP though, not Windows Server 2003. Okay, let's look at what we have now. So we have a C drive, we have a drivers for, we have optical drives. This is the my Windows XP ISO. This is the virt.io drivers. Okay, let's look at the hardware device manager. Let's install these drivers too. So this is the virtio balloon driver for XP. Next. Do you still want to install? Yes. I'm not sure why they are not digitally signed, but that's it. Finish. And the last one is this guy. No. Okay. So virtio serial driver XP. Next. Do you still want to install? Yes. Finish. There's no other hardware devices that I know the driver of. Okay. So I did add hardware. I installed. I need to shut down and remove. Okay, let's do that. So shut down. Turn off computer. The computer has shut down. Now we can remove the virtio disk, which is 20 gigabytes. The hard disk where I installed Windows XP's ID and is 100 gigabytes. So this is handy for me to not confuse the two. I'm going to go remove on this one and delete associated storage. Yes. I'm deleting the Intel E1000 network interface card. So just the network interface card of type virtio remains. Just the hard disk of type ID remains, and I'm removing these two. I go do not delete associated storage files. It's called winxp1.qcow. So we need to keep the qcow file. The qcow file can be attached to the virtual machine either via IDE or via SATA or via virtio. So it was connected via IDE. We delete the device, but we keep the qcow file. Okay. And now we create a virt.io hard disk. So it should be this device, virt.io, and I'm selecting the correct image, which is the correct qcow file, which is winxp-1. So choose volume, virt.io, finish. And now let's look, we have a virtio hard disk of size 100 gigabytes where Windows XP is actually installed. Network interface card of type virt.io. The boot options is there's just one option, virt.io disk in the boot manager. Okay, we can start the virtual machine. Okay, let's put the password. Let's connect via RDP. Failed to connect via RDP. Yes, because we have a different network interface card, which has the IP address ending with 22. So this is 22. Well, this is 22. And the sizes are different. It's these ones. Okay. So we need this command line. Control C, Control Shift V. Password. So it says new hardware. recommended next. It has already booted from that disk, but it still wants to know its driver. Continue anyway. Finish. So what else can we change? We have disabled automatic updates, which already do not exist on Windows XP. We have disabled the Windows firewall. We have enabled the RDP server. The next thing to do would be to install to install 7-zip. But how do we do that? What's the website of 7-zip? Okay, let's see if we're lucky. In the future, you're about to view pages over a secure connection. Okay, so probably HTTPS does not work at all or something. Okay, for this, I'm using the fact that Remote Desktop Protocol has support for a SMB share. So let's download the file. Okay, in here, and use a different command line. So the command line was x3rdp, which is the RDP client executable, the user, administrator, Windows local user, then resolution, width and height, then IPv4 address, then some new features, maximum speed and maximum bits per pixel color depth. And now I've added the parameter home drive such that the Linux, so on the host machine, on my hardware machine, I have installed Kubuntu 22.10. The home directory of my Linux user will be exposed as a SMB Samba drive to the virtual machine using RDP protocol. From the virtual machine, I'll be able to use from the Windows XP virtual machine, I'll be able to use the home directory of the Linux user from the host machine. Ctrl-Shift-V. Okay, so the web browser is not that useful, and we'll need a web browser. Okay, so it's called home on the name of my hardware computer, where I have downloaded it. It's 7-zip, install, and it's okay. Next, we want a Firefox. So Firefox Windows XP says that Firefox version 52.9 ESR was the last version supported by Windows XP. Okay, so let's actually download this thing. Okay, so it's where's the file? Win64, language English US, this thing. Okay, I have downloaded this thing on my host machine, which is again Linux. I've put it on my home drive, and now the home drive is available in the Windows XP virtual machine. So let's just run it. Okay, it says Firefox cannot be installed because I need the latest version of the latest service pack for my version of Windows XP. Okay, so let's do that. Let's search for the Windows XP SP and let's see what that is. Okay, what's the service pack available? Says service pack 3. There's a chapter in here, service packs. Let's search for 64. Not sure what it did. Let's go back to service packs. Okay, so it says Windows XP Service Pack 3 is not available for Windows XP 64-bit. It's just for Windows XP 32-bit SP3. Because Windows XP x64 is based on the Windows Server 2003 kernel and uses the same service packs as Windows Server 2003 64-bit. Okay, then what are the service packs for Windows Server 2003? Is there a... Yes, so service pack 2 is the latest one. Okay, so let's search for Windows Server 2003 service pack 2. Okay, it says download Windows Server 2003 service pack 2, but for 32-bit, so I need for 64-bit. Okay, Windows Server 2003 Service Pack 2 64-bit edition. Accept. I can select between English and Japanese. English is good enough. Download. So it's an ISO file, but not a bootable ISO file. And the file is named what? W2K3. This thing. So let's copy it, Control C, show the contents, new directory, temp, Control V. What's happening? Copy, paste. Okay, so being an ISO and not a bootable one, I can extract it using 7-zip. And then I can run whatever is needed. So let's see inside of autorun. With a text editor, it says cd launch shell exec readme sp2. So what it does is open this file. Okay, what does this file say? Installing sp2. I need to click here, and clicking here will just launch the cmd file. So srsp2.cmd, which is this file. Okay, let's see if we can run it like this. So just the ISO and extract it to a directory using 7-zip. If not, we'll mount it as a optical drive. So double click on it. Extracts files to C:/ and then some temporary directory name. And says, this is not a joke, back up your system. Okay. I agree. Next. It backs up my Windows installation into this directory. So I managed to install the Windows XP 64-bit SP2 without actually mounting the ISO, the SP2 ISO using virt-manager or using other softwares such as WinCDEMU. Okay. Unfortunately, we do not have the catalog of Windows updates, which would be interesting. So to install all of the Windows updates possible for this operating system. You have successfully completed Service Pack 2. Restart now. Let's see what it actually does. It's restarting. Okay. So we have the newest possible Windows XP Service Pack, which is great. And now we can resume trying to install Firefox, such that we have a web browser, because Internet Explorer does not or did not allow me to use probably the HTTPS protocol because of the HTTPS style protocols and digital signatures, server certificates. Okay, next, what are you doing now? So audio device, this is probably because I chose to keep the default suggested audio hardware, which is ICH6, and I should probably go with AC97. So let's do that. Okay. This is not a virtio driver, so I will not have drivers on my hard disk. Finish. Let's connect using the RDP protocol. Okay, what else do we need to do? Install the web browser. So this, where are you? To delete, yes. Let's copy the installer to temp. Okay, and now the Mozilla Firefox setup actually starts. So the first part probably just downloads a offline installer, and this is the actual installer. Okay, I don't know what custom does. Icons never on my desktop. In my quick launch bar, yes. Yes, in start menu. A default, of course. Launch it now. Don't import anything. Let's see if 7-zip works. 7-zip. Okay, the Google looks really bad, but then most of the websites actually work. Okay. What's next? So we have really fast network interface card, really fast storage for CPUs. So for CPUs, okay, where is the performance thing? Not being able to search is so lame. So we have 7-zip, Firefox. Let's add the toolbar quick launch where Firefox is. Let's move the taskbar to the left. make it as small as possible, which is what? Like this. Lock the taskbar. This thing should not have show desktop. Should not have this thing. And now it's okay. Okay, how do I open the performance thing? There's no button here. System tools. So this is MS Info 32. Where is the performance tools? Windows performance tools. perfmon.msc. Copy Windows R, Control V. Not this thing. Okay. What's next? Let me look at the notes. So we have web browser, we have zip extractor, and not only it can extract from executables, ISOs, MSIs, etc. The next thing to do is total commander. Total CMD. Download. 64-bit only, and it supports Windows XP, which is great. Download works from Firefox. Run. English, no other languages. Next. Default. Default for INI file. It's not on the desktop for all users. Next. Close. Where are you? Let's make this thing, the quick launch, bigger. All programs, total commander, right click, send to pin to start menu. Good idea. How do we send to desktop? That was the thing. And then move it from here there. Okay, and put it on the second position. Okay, no need to use Windows Explorer from now on. Button 2, no button bar, no function keys. Show hidden and system files. No bold fonts, thank you. Regular is great. Operation, left mouse button, Windows standard apply. Quick search, letters only. And let's also get a text editor. As goes. Incognito mode. Does it have such a thing? Yes. This thing. Download. Windows executables. The file to use on Windows XP. are you talking about? Let's see what this thing is. So it's a zip file, yeah, looks good. Does not ask me where to download, which is wrong. So let's configure Firefox, customize. I don't need these things. I don't need this thing. No pocket. Menu bar is okay. Do I need to save anything? Exit, customize. Okay, like this. Settings. Where are your options? Where is the search? Where Firefox starts, show blank page. Search. Where are you? Where is the search bar in Firefox settings? Always ask when to download. Okay, so just two settings. To always ask when to download, and when Firefox starts, show blank page. Okay. Let's start it again. Unfortunately, I cannot start it in incognito mode directly. New private window. Okay, so where were we? Close. Two tabs. Warn me. Do not warn me. It already downloaded. You. Let's download it again. Okay, where are you, this thing? Download. Full 64-bit download. Save in ctemp. Save. Okay. In temp, let's create a bin directory. Let's extract this thing. Let's rename it. Let's see if it runs. Control X, bin, and see the name of the file is chite.exe. So it doesn't like something, probably the operating system. So let's do what it says. It says full 32-bit download the file to use on Windows XP. Let's see this one. Save, temp save. So this directory is wrong. This thing's 32-bit. Control X, Control V. And it runs. Okay, and now we configure Total Commander to use as editor, not notepad, but that thing. Okay, great. Okay. And let's see that the editor actually works. Let's edit something, the HTML. So F3 shows the Total Commander viewer. And F4 shows Chite. I do not like it that it starts behind the start menu, so let's edit that. Options, global options, plot win, position left and position top. So position left should be, I don't know, 80. Let's see. Yeah, 80 is great. Okay, so that's it. There's syntax highlighting, code folding, and other goodies. We can change the code, the syntax highlighting language to be used for this text file. There's encoding and end of line operations. Similar to Notepad++. Okay. Can I survive in this operating system? Yeah, I can, because it's behind NAT, so it will not get viruses. I have a good enough web browser. The performance is good enough. I have an orthodox file manager, a good enough text editor. Probably this virtual machine is good enough for heavier payloads, such as the newest version of Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio, that's supported for the Windows XP, and the toolchain with XP for C++. Okay, so that's it. It boots fast, it works really fast, does not have an antivirus to slow it down, does not have Windows updates. Okay, what about the sysinternal suite? So I found that the Windows XP end of life 2014, sysinternal suite being a suite of software from Microsoft, they must have had supported Windows XP in March of 2014. So I went to archive.org and I'm using the old version of the sysinternal suite webpage for March 2014. So that was February 8th, 2014. So let's see if I can download this thing. Go Negware. Control TV. Save to temp, yes. Yes, because this will give us a better process monitor, a task manager, and etc. Procmon, Filemon, Process Explorer, etc. So that's the way to use most of the software. You need to find the latest version of that software that still supported Windows 7. So 7-zip Windows XP. 7-zip still supports it. Total Commander still supports Windows XP, but then Mozilla Firefox stopped supporting Windows XP a while back. Sysinternal suite stopped supporting XP for all of the tools, so some of the sysinternal suite tools still support Windows XP, but not all of them. And we want a sysinternal suite version that supports all of the tools on Windows XP. And maybe you couple that with a version of with the latest version of sysinternal suite, and you extract them in two different directories and try the newest version of the tool from System Suite. If that does not work, you then fall back to the version of the System Suite that was fully supported under XP, Windows XP. Where are you? 7zip, extract, System Suite. Okay, so this thing, Control X and put it into C:\10 bin. Let's see some of the most used ones. So Process Explorer, agree, and it works. Okay, sys. There's the process tree, so everything seems to work okay. This thing, Firefox, okay. What else? Procmon. Looks okay to me. That's it. WinOption. So we have Firefox, System Suite, Scite, Total Commander, 7zip, or what are we missing? WinMerge, and then development programming tools. So this is it. Everything seems to you still are able to install Windows XP in a way that you can survive there, and you have great software available. Yes, Windows XP is end of life. Yes, you should not use Windows XP, but still it's possible. Thank you.